This is the Mind Body Detox Podcast, where we discuss all things integrative health and wellness, interviewing folks from all over the world, sharing insights and wisdom for how to live a healthier life, mind, body, and spirit. Everyone, we are back again with another New Visions Holistic Expo live interview with Hay House author Abiola Abrams. And I encourage you guys, if you're watching the live stream, to comment, to chat, to send us some questions. We are going to be interviewing her with some incredible questions I thought long and hard about, and some of you even sent in. So I appreciate that very much, guys. So for introduction, if you have not heard of Abiola before, Abiola is nothing short of extraordinary. Abiola Abrams is an award-winning author, intuitive self-love coach, goddess oracle card creator. You know, we love those oracle cards, ladies, and transformational speaker and international retreat leader. She's known for her radiant presence. You guys are going to see that very soon. And of course, she's a Leo, and revolutionary teachings. Abiola is a leading voice in the divine feminine awakening movement. As a spiritual teacher, she channels ancient goddess wisdom and ancestral guidance, blending it with embodiment rituals, shadow work, and channeled meditation to help women reclaim their power and transmute fear into sacred purpose. She's the visionary behind the African Goddess Rising Oracle deck and the Goddess Temple podcast. And through her global retreats from Belize to Bali and her empowering online courses, she guides women around the world to embody the goddess within. So we're going to go deep. We're going to talk about her book, The Divine Frequency, and we're going to have conversation on feminine power, ancestral healing, and what it truly means to rise in your divine purpose. So again, if you are in watching live, join us, comment, share, let us know you're here. And if you are watching the recording, you can still comment. We have prizes we're going to be giving away today as well. I'm giving away one of her oracle decks. So we'll stay tuned for that. We'll put that in the chat so you guys have a link directly to do that. So let's bring Abiola on.
Yay! Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having time to take out of your busy week to be with us this week.
Oh, I'm so excited about this conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
So my first question is, I want to just know, how long have you been doing this work? What did you get into this? What really sparked everything and got you to where we are now?
So I'm an OG in this space, original goddess OG. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And it is quite a different playing field than it was when I got started. For me, the call of the goddess came as when I was a young woman. Just so many different things in my life as I was living in New York, and called to me in terms of the goddess. And it just seemed like goddess energy was calling to me from everywhere. Once you start, an opening comes to you for this work. I believe that once the divine taps you on the shoulder and says, this is where you need to be, you will hear whispers and get nudges literally from every aspect of your life. So I was in college and sitting in school, and my teacher was a Nigerian woman who was like, yes, this part of my culture is blah, 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 and your name means this and blah, 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 blah. And then I would be with my friends and, this would happen and, something would pop up, or we would be at the theater and, suddenly the theater had an altar in the lobby that was a goddess altar. And, it just seemed like this energy was coming to me from everywhere. And I started to hold goddess circles in my living room. It would be just me and a few friends, like just trying to, to learn about this and figure it all out. And, there wasn't much public information at that time. So it was in New York, going to a lot of like New York City spaces and, temples, a lot of underground places, frankly. And, so for me, that was a bit of beginning of my journey. And it culminated in me co-creating this powerful 3-woman combination of performance piece. It was a play. It was town halls. It was this energetic phenomenon that took place called Goddess City. And it was with two friends, one main friend, Antoy Grant, and then we had a third rotating place. And we talked about the things that women experience, the good, the bad, the ugly. And our shows would turn into town halls. And that for me was, again, the beginning of this goddess experience, the divine feminine work for me.
Isn't it interesting? I feel like all this work, it unfolds very organically. It's so different than linear types of ways we are being, and we need so much of this organic, nonlinear, cyclical. It's cyclical in nature and how things come through.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the interesting thing is, Goddess Kara, as I'm thinking about it, it actually began, many could say like even much earlier in the fact that I happened to go to an all-girl school for middle school and high school. And, of course, that wasn't a part of my parents' designation and me going to that school, but being there around in my formative years around all girls and women, like that was a part of informing my experience, thinking about, what it means to be a woman in the world, what it means to be a Black woman in the world, and then being always a spiritual person, what that means from a spiritual perspective and spiritual point of view.
Yeah, I completely. And I think that I'm going to ask the audience too, whether, again, when you're watching live or you're watching the recording, have you ever been to a gathering where you felt completely safe and loved and supported and accepted? Because as women, I'd love to hear your take on this. Like how was it where women they first joined? Like there seems to be sometimes this sort of resistance. Like, is this going to be okay? Because we have so many wounds about joining and gathering together.
Yeah, I think that, the gathering of women is, a force in this world. It is like there's just something energetically that happens when we are in community. And it is for that reason that community is a very big part of my work, whether it is in smaller groups, bigger groups, online, in person. For you, I know as well that the aspect of community, which people thought that, maybe we would be moving away from as we move, more into, a digital world that we would be removed from. But the need for community is a primal human need. And no matter what happens, that need is always there. And the need for us to gather together, to bear witness, just to bear witness to another person and say, I see you, I feel you, I am you, is a transformational experience.
Yeah, the experience that you said of "I feel you" too. The subtle energetic feel, like you said, the frequency of being together in a physical space, breathing the same air, smelling the same smells, the five sensory experience. And so when we talk about this as like a frequency, this energetic connection, you talk a lot about divine frequency in your work and of course your book. So for those who may be new to the concept, I would love if you could describe it for us. How
Yeah.
we into it as well.
Yes. So the divine frequency is exactly what it sounds like. It is the frequency of the divine. It goes by many names. So you may have grown up calling it God or the universe or Allah, Jah, Jehovah, Buddha, all of these names, divine. It is all most high. That is all the name. And of course, the 1001 names of the goddess. These are all the divine frequency. It is the energy of creation. You may also call it, most simply, if you don't know what to call it or any of those names that I mentioned are off-putting to you, the energy of love. It is the energy of love. That is what it is. It is purest energy of love. So if you think about, a child that you love or a pet that you love, that and allow yourself to fill your energy stream with that love, that is the frequency of the divine frequency. And why that is important for us in this sacred and spiritual energetic conversation is that is the energy of creation. It's the energy of manifestation and the energy of transformation. So you could easily, make a case for anything that someone would want to manifest. Type into the comments, everyone who's watching, what you want to manifest, what you're calling forward. Type it into the comments. Anything that you are calling forward, and that is also calling you forward, is within the energy of the divine frequency. It's in the energy of love. And by aligning ourselves with that frequency, by awakening that frequency within ourselves, we then align ourselves with the kind of life that we want to create, the peace, the love, the happiness, the joy, the abundance, the pleasure. All of that is within the divine frequency.
So, guys, if you didn't hear this yet, we're giving away her book at the expo. We're giving that Oracle deck today. So, the Divine Frequency is the book that it's like your most recent book, right?
This is the book.
Yes. Yeah.
My most recent book. This came out this year. I'm so excited about it. I'm proud of it. It's called The Divine Frequency, Harness the Magic of Universal Laws for Transformation, Manifestation, and Freedom. And I'm so excited that you're doing a giveaway of this book because I'm really proud of it. It is a manual not only for manifesting. Manifesting is great. That's fine. But it's also a manifestation, a transformation manual, a manual for changing everything. If you wanted to just shift everything, this is a powerful manual for you.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many, when we start living in the flow and start living in this frequency, everything changes. Like you said, it's completely different. Like it's like, and I feel that when I see people who are really living in this, people look at that person, and they're like, oh, everything's just lucky for them, or they're just blessed, or they just have some sort of mojo. And I really think it's just the frequency, it's connection. So can you speak to that?
Yes. This is so important because there are people who are going to watch this and say, oh, easy for Kara to say, or easy for Abiola to say, they look like, maybe things are hunky dory for them or whatever it is. And it is frequency. It is frequency. It is energetic. And we know this, this is, if you're watching this is not new to you. If there's someone, for example, you can feel when someone is watching you. Sometimes you're somewhere and you look up and, you can feel someone's eyes on you, or when you think about someone and they call you, or you have different synchronicities that happen in your life. You think about a song or something and there it is. That is energetic. That is frequency. And so part of me writing this book, because it's based on the universal laws, was because I wanted to address the energy of, sometimes people will come up to me and say, I don't believe in manifestation, or I don't believe in that. And that's perfectly fine. I'm not in, like I always say, I'm not in the convincing business. That's fine. Anyone can believe whatever they want. But I wanted to write it from the point of view of, well, we don't have to believe in gravity for it to work, so you don't have to, you could be like, well, I don't believe in gravity. All right, well, that's great, but gravity is still going to have an effect in your life. So you don't have to believe in the magical forces of this world, but magic certainly believes in you. The divine believes in you. The frequency of love, of creation, of abundance believes in you. And especially at a time when, so many people are experiencing so much turmoil and stress and strife and, really tough times. It is really important for us to be able to have tools in order to not just be in a place of despair and throw up your hands and say, all right, well, it's all out of my hands. I wanted this book to be a way for people to say, I'm in charge of me. I am the president of my life. I am in charge of me. I still get to have a life that is thriving. I still get to have a life that I desire. I still get to have a life that feels good no matter what is going on in the world. And I want to add to that, that this is important because if you want to make a difference and help other people that are suffering, if you want to make a difference in the world and help some of the issues and challenges that you see taking place on the news or wherever, you cannot do that if you yourself are in a place where you are downtrodden and your life is not working for you and you don't have your basic needs met. It's just not possible. You don't have access to that. So in order for you to be and I assume everyone who is watching this, was born to be a transformational rock star. In order for you to be the transformational rock star that you were born to be, you have to have a foundation and be stable mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, have for yourself a place that you feel rooted, and then you can help others. Then you can make a difference in the lives of others. So it's an important part of this conversation, I feel.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And I know we talked earlier before we went live about how long we've been doing this work and how some of the tools that are really connecting with our ancestor, connecting with shadow work, going deep within ourselves, that it's become more mainstream and acceptable. And before we've been doing it and it was kind of like, oh, what are you doing? So I'd love for you to touch on that, because your work really blends goddess energy and ancestral connection and shadow work. So share a little bit of how that's so important to us to move into this space.
Oh my goodness. So the shadow work is hands down, if you are really wanting to change, shift, transform, find personal freedom, find evolution. Shadow work is the pathway through that. Shadow work may seem like it's new. There are all these terms, new age, new thought, all of that. But this is ancient work. When we think about, people have been doing this work, people were doing this work in, throughout the continent of Africa, throughout Asia, throughout so many different societies with many different faces and ways. And it's the work of transformation. It's the work of human experience, and it's the work of evolution. And I feel like a big disservice was done to humanity, really, and a lot of spiritual practices that disregard the power of our ancestors and our elders. And so for me, a big part of this work is a reclamation of realizing that when someone transitions, just because someone has shifted form and they are no longer here in the physical, does not mean that they are not here. Now, for people like Goddess Kara or people like me who have mediumship as a part of our personal gifts, we are very much aware of, the fact that, like folks who are all around us, all the time. But for anyone who is watching this, it is the same for you. It is the same for you. It's just like, maybe there is a language that you don't understand yet, or a language that you don't speak yet. And so you are not accessing, the tools within that language, but it still exists and is there. Our ancestors, globally have so much wisdom that they gifted us with that it really is criminal to think that we're starting from scratch every generation over and over again. That does not make sense. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why in the book, The Divine Frequency, I do cite a lot of science in here, because a lot of the things that we're talking about, spiritual principles, are scientific principles. And this is one, that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It always just is. What are we? We are energy. So therefore, what is spirit? Spirit is energy. Spirit cannot be created or destroyed. It always just is. So you are just shifting form. You are just changing form. So the way that, the same way that scientifically, I have a toddler, I have a 3-year-old. So I was showing her, that water is ice. It's the same thing. Ice can be water. It can be steam. It can be vapor. It's changing form. It is the same exact thing with our ancestors. And so ancestral work for me has always been a foundational part of my practice. And it was really during the pandemic when my ancestors said, okay, girl, it is time for you to take this part of your work, the work of ancestry, of awakening and learning from ancestral wisdom, taking this out into the world. And oracle cards, a lot of folks I know if oracle cards make you uneasy, or I've heard some people say, well, our oracle cards aren't really an ancestral tool. Oracles are also a timeless tool where people use what they have available. So we happen to live in a time where we are able to make pretty images on pretty cards. But if your ancestors were reading tea leaves or bones or whatever it is, that's the exact same thing. It's the same exact work. And so oracle cards are a beautiful communication tool for people who may not, for both people who have access easily, to whether you're clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, etc., who have access to be able to communicate with the divine, with ancestors, with angels, with those who are, higher frequencies, but also for people who don't have those gifts, who this gives you an easy way to be able to access those frequencies. See, it all comes together.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you were talking about, everyone has these capacities to connect. It's not you're born a medium or you're special. Like I always tell people, everybody does. And I
And
love that it's a language. Like you said, it's a language in its own. And I think that Oracle cards in general, and any way that there's divination tools, it's learning symbolism. It's learning this language that we've lost through the ancestral wisdom that we just haven't paid attention to. So speaking of your African Goddess Rising Oracle deck, that one specifically, you have these incredibly powerful African goddesses. Some of them I was like, whoa, I've never heard of this one. And I feel like it's so amazing that we're bringing up the symbolism of what these goddesses, what their energy represents, who they are. And so I'd love to see what your thoughts are on what inspired you to bring these specific stories forward. And how does this relate to you and your life and your lineage?
yes. So I am an African American Caribbean New Yorker. My direct ancestry is from Guyana in South America. Guyana in South America is the only English speaking country in South America, but it also is a part of a larger landmass. There were three Guyanas that were broken up. There was Dutch Guyana, which is Suriname, British Guyana, which is called Guyana, and French Guyana, which is called Cayenne. And so within that space, within that area, there was a very strong preservation of African and indigenous wisdom. The way that my ancestors ended up in South America is that they were kidnapped and trafficked during the transatlantic slave trade and trafficked um, to Guyana, to the Guyana region, the Guyana landmass, starting in the 1600s. So my family has been there in many different, for many, many generations. And as I said, within the Guyanas, there was a very strong retention of African and indigenous wisdom. Um, it is I feel like it is a sacred part of my work to preserve that wisdom by any means necessary. And so that takes many different forms. It is in the foods that I eat, it is in the things that I teach my daughter. It's in the ways that the dances that I do, that probably in many things that I'm doing right now that I'm not even aware of, that maybe someone would look at and be like, oh, that's like such and such as great whomever. Right now I'm writing a romantasy novel that is really exciting and is steeped in ancestral wisdom. So there are many different ways that this work, this heritage has informed all aspects of my work. One important thing that is very key for my experience is that when I started to do this goddess work initially, I studied and was initiated into several different practices and experiences. And for me, because of my own specific heritage, I don't have one specific West African lineage that I can point to. I come from many different lineages. So there are, there's Yoruba, there's Igbo, there are many different cultures and peoples that make up me and my experience. And so what I realized when I was studying was that the being being a part of one lineage didn't ring authentically for me, only because for me I had so many. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of gumbo in there that is wanting me to bring it forward. So,
Yes.
and in terms of my African goddess rising oracle deck, this is a beautiful foundational tool for anyone who is either interested in oracles or interested in specifically um, African practices. There are 54 plus countries and countless cultures on the continent of Africa, but also throughout the diaspora. So there is, not only the experience that people had, that my ancestors had when they were in Africa before they were trafficked into, into the rest of the world, but also then the experiences that the things that my ancestors then who had deep roots in South America and and throughout the diaspora and and in Barbados, actually in the Caribbean as well, their experiences also are an important part of um, what then becomes global African tradition. So what makes this deck unique is that most decks, if they do, because once I created the first African Oracle decks, and since then, I'm proud to say that there have been many others, that have come after it, which is a wonderful thing. Um, that for me, I wanted to also acknowledge the spiritual, um, the spiritual inheritance of those of us in the diaspora. So there is that acknowledgement as well. And there is a shadow work aspect of the deck that you can work with the deck for shadow work purposes as well. And so it's a wonderful foundational tool to get and to be able to work with if you have any of those interests at all.
I'm so glad you explained that because I was like, well, wait a minute. Some of these goddesses, I don't think they were just African. So I was really, really intrigued to ask you that question. So thank you. Yeah. So I'm also curious as far as working with being a Black woman in the spiritual community. This has been something where I feel like a lot of Black women have been left out. And how do you feel like your background, your image, and the energy that you bring, how do you feel like that creates this empowerment versus this fear from maybe people being like, maybe that's not for me, or superstition, or things that might create these barriers between access to this ancestral wisdom and our intuition as women?
Mhm. So this is a key part of the conversation, not only for people who are of African descent, but also for people globally who may want access to this wisdom and this work. So an interesting thing is that to acknowledge for people who are like, oh, I didn't know about, African goddesses, or they didn't know about, all of this wisdom that is there, in the African diaspora on the continent of Africa. It's important to acknowledge that that is by design, that that is not by accident, that you or whomever is watching this may not know about African goddesses, that African spirituality was demonized purposefully by enslavers and colonizers, because for the purpose of using, spirituality as a tool to harm, so anything that can be used to uplift can also be used, unfortunately, to harm. And that was something that was done by design and on purpose. And so it's important for me because, when I think about the other spiritual practices that I have benefited from, so I've benefited from, using the medicine of Ayurvedic practices and, Hindu wisdom and Kabbalic wisdom and many different spiritual practices. So in the same way, African wisdom and the specific, cultural wisdoms within that, because there's no African monolith, the specific cultural wisdoms within that are a medicine and a magic that people can access and use for transformation. Oh, there's Goddess Helen. I see in the chat saying, I love all of your decks so much. African Goddess speaks to me most frequently, most really lately. I'm glad you exist, birthday mother girl. Thank you,
Oh,
Goddess.
yes. Yes. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, magical unicorn. Yay. Well,
Yay.
I'm so grateful because what you said about so many, it's not just African cultures, so many cultures have been demonized and this ancient wisdom has been squished, is the right word, squashed. And I feel squashed. And I think it's really so beautiful doing this work to really bring awareness and bring the power and the empowerment that comes through working in this way back to all of us. So I'm really, really grateful to I'm actually really excited to look at your Bases of Oshun deck. Like I said, I didn't get to look at that one yet, but of course, ladies and gentlemen, we are giving away our African Goddess Rising Oracle today. So I'll put in the chat if you want to win that. I'll put that in the chat for a link for you guys to do that. I have a couple other questions for you. One thing is this event we have, the Division Holistic Expo, we're in our 23rd year. And we're so grateful for so many people and the wisdom that have come before us. Not only these amazing people that have started this metaphysical bookstore in Warp, PA here since 1987. They've held the light here for so long. And we're in more of a conservative area of Pennsylvania. So it's incredible that we grew in the space of diversity and inclusion and everyone, we're here for everyone, right? And I feel like as we grow this event, it's been more than just a event where there's vendors and there's amazing professionals and products. This is to us a movement of people coming and finding themselves, connecting with these tools through individuals, through products, through oracle decks, through the books, things like that. And I'm curious because we're calling this a lot of times in the spiritual community, we hear it saying the new earth or the new paradigm. And it does feel like that, even since the pandemic, we're having this huge shift in evolution and consciousness. Some people don't feel like it's an evolution, but I feel like it is. So I'd love to hear what you're feeling with this big shift happening in the world. And when you think about the term New Earth, what does that look like to you? And what do you feel your role is in playing and creating or birthing the new Earth?
So the reason why I'm smiling, Goddess Kara, is because I pulled a card for you in the beginning when you were introducing me. I shuffled and pulled a card for you that happens to have on it, of course, all of the words that you just said. So I pulled for you from the Faces of Oshun Oracle deck. And I pulled Oshun of Resurrection, came forward for you, the card of rebirth, transformation, and renewal. Rebirth, transformation, and renewal, which is all exactly what you just said was your sacred intention for what is going on right now. And it happens to also, this is card number 5. Oshun's sacred number is 5. And so, and for my numerology peoples, the number is 5. And especially if we're moving into this 8/8 Lionsgate energy, that right now, this is a time of rebirth. This is a portal of reclamation. This is a portal of, you may be feeling this if you're watching this on a personal level where, you're just feeling just dissatisfied with certain things and just, on a personal level, in need of a rebirth, in need of a reset. And so that is what this energy is right now. This is a beautiful opening for it. It's the perfect time for it. Our children are about to go back to school. And so that is a kind of a reset energy as well. And it's important for us to work with the natural cycles that we have. This is why this matters that, of course, anyone could do a rebirth or reset at any time. But when we work with the energies that we have, rather than trying to work against it. Like right now we're in this retrograde energy, and I'm sure, it's interesting because I always make a point of, I put all cosmic things on my calendars, but I make a point of never putting like, the retrograde stuff because I don't want to experience it. But then again, like I said earlier, you don't have to believe in gravity for it to believe in you. You don't have to believe in the retrograde for it to believe in you. Then then sometimes like something, just the wackiest, craziest things will happen. And I'll be like, well, let me look at my, okay, there we go. So following the cosmic energy is important. This is a cosmic period and an energetic portal and opening of rebirth. Meaning, what is it, that you want to either recreate and rebirth in your life? And maybe the answer is you. Maybe you want to give birth to yourself again, to your own energy again, to reclaim yourself in a different way. And maybe you want to do actually exactly what Goddess Kara has done. Magical Unicorn, I happen to know, has a lot in common with you in that way, where Goddess Kara, took something that was a community staple and rebirthed it for a new earth, a new age, a new generation, a new community, and is building on, rather than, she could easily go and create her own thing from scratch. But rather than doing that, she took, the found and something that was foundational and very powerful and that easily could have gone away, and resurrected and rebuilt that. And I feel like very strongly, that is for all of us who are living through this time period right now, the way to go. That's the way to go. It's not about, um, and there is within that still, there's innovation. There is still within that, being able to see and do new things and new experiences, but not feeling like we have to scrap what was there in order to move forward. Instead, building on and moving forward and being able to rise higher in that way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think this is such a resonance, not only the card, but for everybody too, like you said. It is a rebirth. And there are a lot of people that are having new ways of thinking, whether it's in their mental health, their physical health, their spiritual health. And they're in these different systems of the world right now, working the financial system. I meet so many amazing, incredible people. I'm sure you do too, Abiola, that are having their work, what they're doing, how they see as a visionary person in their little sector of the world of rebuilding and rebirthing. And so that's what we're really excited for, to see that. And at the event, we're actually going to be featuring 6 different visionary leaders in different sectors of healthcare, spirituality, the academia, and of course, working with the ecosystem. So we have different speakers that are going to be representing this panel of new earth leaders. And so that's something we're really excited about. But I encourage you guys out there who are listening here, what Abiola said is like, it is time. We're all doing this in our own little way. And we're all together on this beautiful, beautiful earth together. So yeah. Now I have one more thing I want to share. So we are, of course, going to be giving away 2 door prizes. We have the Divine Frequency we're giving away at the show. So you have to be present for that at the events. There are plenty of other amazing door prizes. Trust me, don't want to miss those. But also we have our pre-event door prize for Abiola's African Goddess Rising Oracle deck that we'll be giving away. So I'm putting in the chat right now. Click in the comments, go to that. You can enter it to win there. We're pulling prizes on Friday for the pre-event drawings. And I'm really excited because, Abiola, we of course have chosen your book, The Divine Frequency, for our Spiritual Steep book club. And we haven't picked the month yet but we're reading it. I know you're going to be coming back and joining us. So we'll be reading that for the month, and we'll have a Q&A with you. So we'll get to ask questions and really directly connect with you again in a beautiful, intimate way. So I want to encourage everybody, get the book. You can get it online and get it at New Visions Books. We have a discount code for you. Also, I have a discount code from Hay House for you all. So please keep in mind, if you are joining us, get the book before it starts, and keep on our newsletter list, because we're going to be starting that probably maybe early next year or late fall. We didn't pick the date yet, but we're really excited for that. But other than that, I'm so grateful you spent time with us, Abiola. I'd love to maybe send off our listeners with what do you feel that either we haven't shared or something that you really want to hit home with everyone before we say goodbye today?
Yes, I think that the most important message right now, Goddess Kara, I would say is to to not be stuck in the idea of whatever it is that the outside voices are telling you. Whether those the outside voices are in your own family or whether they are on the news or online or on social or whatever it is, that there is, there's a general energy that I've seen of people who are feeling, just like kind of just in despair and, the energy of malaise, it just, and this is your life. Like these are our lives. These are one wild and precious life. And time, this is your one wild and precious life here as you. Right? We talked about energy cannot be created or destroyed. So you may come back, as someone else or in a different energetic form. But right now, the you that is you deserves to thrive, deserves to thrive. And so wake up every day and give yourself that opportunity by saying, okay, if I'm still here, that means that my purpose is not yet complete. And allow yourself to reach toward the energy of love, the energy of the divine frequency, the energy of your own sacred power and becoming.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. We're just so grateful for the work you're doing. And everyone here's listening, everyone watching the replay, thank you so much. We encourage you to share with friends. If this resonated with you, comment below. But other than that, Abiola, I can't wait to read your book and have you back. It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Oh, wait, let me just add something. So for the book, so for everyone who reads for the book club, make sure that they download the free divine frequency oracle cards that you can get from my site womanifesting.com, and they bring those to the book club. So they can just print them out, and just download the free oracle cards and bring it to the book club as well whenever we do that. And for anyone who's watching this as well, go to womanifesting.com, like manifesting.com, but womanifesting.com. Download the free oracle cards that go with the book as well.
Oh, perfect. I will put that also in the notes. So WOMANI, like vesting. Yes.
You got it. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah. So other than that, guys, thanks for listening and be well until next time, my friends. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Mind Body Detox Podcast. If you love this podcast, share it with others and leave us a review. Your reviews help us more than you know and supports us continuing to make episodes and being heard from all over the world. You can also follow the link in our show notes to submit a topic that you would like to hear on the show.